Welcome everyone to Latter Daily Digest. We're trying something new. We're going to see if anybody out there wants to chat about the show we just ran. And Brandy, have you seen any ETs since we interviewed our guest?
I have kept my eyes to the sky, but as of yet, I have not seen any.
And I haven't either.
That I know of, by the way. That I know of.
That's right. Apparently, they could just be walking amongst us.
Exactly.
They just are kind of boring. I mean, I was looking at the four old men on the show, and I was thinking any of us could have been aliens if boring would have anything to do with things. Yeah, and you probably don't have to move your mic too much. You can just leave it there. You don't have to adjust it. It's close. We can hear you fine whatever it is. So let's see. I've invited a few people to come on, and it's maybe because it's Saturday afternoon, nothing's happening with them, rather too much is happening with them. I guess last night people weren't able to get out and do the things they might normally do on a date night, although they could have incorporated it. You could tell us about your date night if you want to share what you had. I saw on your Facebook page you did an event last night.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We went to the local casino here, one of the local casinos. They had the same drone team that was on America's Got Talent. They sent up 1,000 drones in the air, and they were making all these creations. And I even put a video on Facebook of it. It was incredibly spectacular. And then the fireworks were just out of this world. So there's little ET action, because if they were out of this world, it could be extraterrestrial fireworks, but they were amazing. And then we went home and went to bed because I'm old. I can't say that for Amanda. She has not reached the golden age that I have. But yeah, I'm old.
I think I could share the screen if you think that would be good to share the photo that you took.
Oh, cool.
Some of them are movies, huh? Let me see if I can do that. Over here. Computer's going slow. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Yeah. Go back to screen. To the stage. I think I can make it so bigger view picture.
That's my home. I have permanent lights on my house, and I can program them to whatever I want. And obviously, last night they were 4th of July lights, and I have that. I have stuff that I decorate my yard with. I'm kind of we have gained the title of Vice President of First Impressions in our neighborhood, because as you pull through the gates, our house is the first house you see. So I feel obligated to make it look cool every holiday. So
now, is it all green on March? What is it, 17th?
Yes, it certainly was. Was that St. Patrick's Day?
February 14th.
Yeah, red and pink. And then, for Pride, we had the pastel Pride.
Wouldn't have a good alien ET UFO show if we didn't do fireworks.
Yeah.
I think fireworks were invented as an air defense against ET. What do you think? Possible.
Those are the bombs bursting in air.
Yeah.
And they gave proof through the night
that our flag was still there.
The flag was still there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We celebrate this on July 4th, but that song was written because of something that happened during the War of 1812.
Right. Yeah, but it fits.
Like we don't care if it fits. We don't care.
Now, I think what you're showing now will be the drone show.
Those
But
are drones
it's
up there making the lights.
yeah, that's 1,000 drones up there making all
That
these
is pretty
different
cool.
figures.
They would have been UAPs as they headed toward making that shape.
I was kind of hoping one might crash into the back of my truck,
It's
but
funny that somebody's not shooting some of their big bombs up towards them just to see if they can
yeah. And what's cool
damage
is they just would appear, suddenly the figure would appear out of nowhere. And yeah, if someone had seen this like, 20 years ago, they would think the second coming was happening.
them. Yeah. So Mary is here. I don't know, Mary, if you ever make Zoom calls or anything, and you wanted to hop on and say hi, tell us if you
So
ever
this
have
is
any.
July 4th, 2025. We're at Quest Casino watching the drone show, and it's pretty spectacular. I've never seen one of these live and in person. I've just seen them. This is the crew from America's Got Talent.
Do they do
I
it
forgot
for America's
that I
Got
was
Talent?
narrating.
I just get the highlights.
All that background noise, there were fireworks all around us, literally.
Yeah, like we were being invaded.
I don't know what
I think if a foreign country wanted to invade America, they should pick July 4th because nobody would know what's happening.
right? Yeah. I don't know what institutions were around us because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But they had fireworks just all over the place, literally all around us going off.
Yeah, so if there's anybody out there that wants to chime in about Mr. Campbell's discussion about 0 point power, which means free energy.
Gene, have you ever seen a something that has perpetual motion?
Uh, other than Randy C. Watts,
I
can't
I
stop it.
saw something last year that was crazy. They had like 6 or 8 buckets, and they'd take a hose, a short length of hose, and they would start siphoning water from one bucket to the next. And then they'd go to that bucket and siphon it to the next. And by the time they got back to the 8th bucket, you had water continually running, siphoning into the next. I mean, like a nice stream, So it was a really neat visual effect. And it would go forever because it's all just siphon, you know.
Yeah, and I guess if you could harness that energy,
Well, and I don't know why that couldn't be harnessed if you did it on large scale, but that's a
right?
principle that was pretty cool. You do know you're muted, right, Gene? Your lips are moving, but there's no sound coming
Yeah,
out.
and I'm asking somebody to help me out. Yes, we're
Oh,
recording.
okay.
We're doing a show right now, Derek. So just yeah. Okay. So something was playing in the background and it got paused now.
So, have you ever seen something that you believe to be a UFO or a what do we call them? Unidentified
Aerial phenomena. So
aerial phenomenon?
I
Yeah.
think I mentioned on the Tuesdays with Tim show once that and Tim said that he would try to be here in a few minutes. I saw something in the sky that looked sort of like some sort of strange mathematical signal. It was like a check mark that went and and it just stayed there for like 10 minutes. And it was on a day pretty much like today, like a day after or during the summer, the late afternoon, lazy summer day, and it was just uh, something that made me consider that something happens in the sky that we don't know about, right?
Yeah.
And to be open minded, I would say, I guess.
Yeah. I think I also shared that living in Durango, Colorado, every night, all the residents from the trailer park we lived in a trailer park because we were horse people, and people had horses on their respective ranches, and we were just a collection of cowboys, and this was when I was a kid. I was about 12, 13, 14 years old, and we were all sitting around the campfire. There was about 25 of us. And all of a sudden, in the mountain range there in Durango, we saw a green streak just fly over the entire mountain range in a matter of maybe 2 seconds, which is speeds that are beyond our comprehension. And it just instantly stopped right in front where we could see. And it sat there for maybe 4 seconds and then just went straight up so fast that it just left a green trail. And it was bright, glowing green, kind of a cigar slash disc shape, depending on what angle it was at. And we all saw it. We were all there, and this was back before we had cell phones or it was back in the old days. Otherwise, I would have loved to have gotten a picture of it.
Right.
But there's nothing on Earth that could match that speed, and no creatures we know of that could survive an instant stop like that, and then that kind of G-force going straight up, almost the speed of light.
And wasn't the original flying discs seen over the Cascade Mountains, just in western part of Washington?
Well, I know that there have been several UFO sightings here, but there's also been several Bigfoot sightings here.
I think in 1947 or 46, I can't remember which year. It was just before Roswell.
This was where all the police officer was trying to follow it, and then they'd go from department to department trying to track this thing.
I think it was a guy that was just flying like a Cessna, and he just observed them, and he saw the disc flying from the top of one mountain peak to another, and he knew the distance as an aerial flyer would know distances and stuff like that. And he calculated the speed of what was like 1,700 miles an hour or something like that.
There's something very similar, but it was a police officer on the ground who witnessed it and did his best to keep up with its location.
And that's
And
in Washington State.
it started in Oregon and came down the river, right along what's the name of the river? Anyway, yeah,
Snake
and
River.
they were able to no, but they were able to track it um, for a distance, and they couldn't keep up anymore. Ah, crap! What's the name of that river? It's like I should know that like the back of my hand because we're not
Not the
far.
Willamette. Is it
Nope.
closer to Seattle?
Well, it's halfway between here and Seattle.
Okay.
The and it goes along the highway to Oregon. I think it might be the Potomac or the Nile. Those are the only rivers I can think of.
Right.
And no, it's neither one of those.
Now
Columbia?
Childress was
Columbia?
going to try to join us, but she can't find an appropriate spot to be in. It didn't have either loud kids yelling and singing like a restaurant or somewhere else where she can talk and contribute quietly.
Well, according to our guest, as many may have just listened to, there are aliens walking amongst us. And I sure would like to hear more about that, or anyone who is.
He
I
said
know
they
that.
described them as not. Do you remember what the other word? Not like outsiders or others or.
Yeah, they weren't. They had abnormalities that were kind of subtle.
But I mean, like they had a code word for them, like the quiet ones or the other people, or I can't remember what he says. But it made me think
Hmm.
that government workers might be thinking about that.
Yeah, I wish that we really had those little things that the men in black have that shoot a red beam into your eye and you forget everything that happened in the
Flashy
last.
memory messer upper.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to have one of those, not for me, but for anyone else. You know, you
Yeah,
get
like
into an
I'm.
argument with a police officer, and
Yeah, I wonder if my wife has one of those because I am forgetting things all the time.
I believe, yeah, actually, I believe Michelle has one of those.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, for some reason, when it's done live, I can't click through to it from the studio, from the YouTube studio. I can't click through to the show. And so it says that me and one other person is watching out there. And maybe that's now. Let's see who else is supposed to come on. So Tim, we're waiting for Tim. He's the one that really wanted to get this guy on. Oh, and I swear, 2 months ago, I was watching Radio Free, no, Backyard Professor, and the guy sounded just like this guy, and he was talking about names and dates and places and people, and nonchalantly talking about having dinner and eating at diners with ETs like every week for like 10 years, and they would just chat about stuff. And
Well,
so,
that's nice that they have that connection. That would answer a lot of mysteries.
yeah, and I just realized I'm not monetizing this episode, but with the reviews it's garnered so far, this test is gonna it's not going as well as I was hoping. But anyway, it's a in-service meeting.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're supposed to have the backyard professor on our show, and the reason he hasn't answered my emails is because I have not sent them.
Oh,
So that might be a reason. I'm going to do that today.
did you
Mark
type some
my
out and just didn't hit send, or because I've
Nope.
done that before?
I didn't even type it out. I just
Okay.
had on my calendar to uh, write him after mid June,
Okay.
and I saw it on the calendar and didn't do it.
Just didn't happen. And you don't have another calendar that says go back and check your calendar for the other notices that you
I
haven't
need to.
looked at yet. Just like my dad said, I need a pair of glasses that I can use when I'm looking for my glasses.
I have
So
my
I've got that down.
Yeah, I have my personal assistant. You know her name.
That's right.
Um, I tell her to set an alarm for a certain time, and then I'm supposed to hear the alarm and say, "Oh yeah, I have a haircut or I have a dental appointment." The problem is, so often I hear the alarm and I can't remember what I set it for.
So, do you recall? Was there a topic that you wanted to talk about the backyard professor, just the UAP phenomenon in general, or his experience in starting it? That would be actually probably a good Latter Day Digest. What's his experience since starting to cover the UAP phenomenon?
Well, he claims to be listening to a man on, I don't know if it's TikTok or YouTube, but he swears up and down that he communicates with these aliens. Um, and he believes that it's 100% legit and that there's messages that they're giving to us and that They say that we're in trouble on this earth and that they will intervene when it gets too troublesome. So I'm waiting for that intervention. Come on.
That's kind of like God, right? Every time in the Bible, God doesn't do a dang thing until the very last second. Even
Right?
like when the Israelites were fleeing Egypt, I mean, there had to be so many plagues that happened. So I guess in a way, God was acting on it, but it wasn't phasing the Egyptians. It's like
Yeah.
God did 7 or 8 things, but maybe God said, "I'll do whatever you say." Moses and Aaron, and Moses and Aaron just didn't have the brainstorming capability that a lot of the crime shows. When there's like I'm watching White Collar, they have a confidential informant that is a former criminal, and he comes up with all these schemes just like instantaneously on how to steal the Hope Diamond or do something so that the FBI can catch the other real bad guys, and this guy gets to do all these bad guy type of things in support of the FBI. But Moses and Aaron, they're just like fall flat. They didn't have good script writers. What they're
My
missing.
favorite part of that whole Israelite thing was when the angel of death would visit the homes. And if there wasn't a lamb's blood X marked on the door, they would kill the firstborn of every family.
That's your favorite part?
Yeah.
You,
because because I'm thinking, would a loving God really do that?
oh, your favorite part, and this shows how untrue the Bible probably is.
Yeah, I mean, come on. He's
And it's and
everyone's
it's like
heavenly
it's
father,
that's magic worldview thinking.
right? And he's going to kill the firstborn of every family. That'd be horrible. I'm sitting around and suddenly my daughter just boom, she dies. And we can hear all the neighbors screaming in their homes because their kids are dying. I don't think that's very nice.
That's right, Randy. I love you so much that if you're bad, I'm going to torture you in hell forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like comedian George Carlin mentions all the things you have to do, and then God says, "But I love you." For all these bad things that are happening.
I I had a personal moment with George Carlin.
Good.
Yeah, when he was appearing in uh, Memphis, Tennessee. He stayed at the Peabody Hotel like all the celebrities would, and I was managing the joint. And he called down to room service and said that he'd forgotten his garment bag, not LDS garment bag, but just garment bag, because he was going to go, off to the casino to do a show. And they called me and said, "How do we get a garment bag here right away?" And I said, "I actually have one in my car." So I ran and got it because I'd take my suit back and forth to work and took it up to his room. And we had a nice visit. And he said, "How do I get this back to you?" And I said, and this is how generous I was, I said, "George, don't worry about it. It's yours. Take it." So I know that we developed an eternal love bond right there on the spot.
Yeah. It's like the ultimate sacrifice. Your garment bag for George Carlin's happiness.
Right? Yeah. And I no longer had my garment bag hanging in my car, but that's okay. I got a new one.
There you go. So I don't know where Tim is. Tim was the one that wanted to interview our guest, Maurice. Maurice is kind of a cool name, I think.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you what was there a cat named Maurice? The cat, the cat food commercials? The picky cat? You remember that?
Morris.
Is it just Morris
Yeah, the American pronunciation.
of Maurice? Mauricio.
Yeah, so maybe they had French cat food commercials where it was Maurice.
If Tim is listening, see, the problem was Tim Rathbone was so uh, chatty during that interview. You and I couldn't get a word in edgewise because he was asking all the questions.
Yeah,
Or did I dream that?
could have been dreaming that.
I think maybe I dreamt that.
Yeah. And so, um, I remember. So in a way, I remember when Chariots of the Gods came out,
Yeah.
and our family, I think, went to the theater to watch it, and it was like, well, all that stuff makes sense. If we can't discover how the giant statues on Easter Island that appeared there, it had to be aliens, right?
Well, one would think. Yeah.
I mean, it could be God, but then that would be like God had like no time on his hands. I mean, has so much time on his hands where he's just like, I think I'll carve a few giant statues and place them here just so that my creations will wonder about it for thousands and thousands of years, right? That could be,
I've seen on Ancient Aliens, the show,
right?
reality type show, and they what baffles me are some of these cuts in the stone that are like perfectly tubular, and they'll go to the middle of the stone and curve and come out the other side. We don't even have tools now that will do that.
That's right.
We're unable to do that. So how in the freaking hell did the ancients do that if they didn't have the help of the aliens?
Right. It makes you wonder, like all the library at Alexandria burned down, and there was apparently lots of scrolls where they had like information for a long time, right?
The squirrel
Probably the scrolls that were,
or
I mean,
scrolls?
yeah, because I don't think really they had very many books 2,000 years ago. That books were kind of you know, a modern creation, right? And
Yeah.
so they would have scrolls, papyri, a few sheets of paper, the back of a napkin. They would keep important documents, important information on.
They would have to chisel that information into the back of the napkin, though.
Yeah, well, the napkins are made of granite.
Yes.
You got two granite workers working side by side to take a big 15-ton chunk, and they each work on each opposite side until they get right in the middle where it's just napkin size.
Until they got spaghetti sauce
Until they got spaghetti sauce.
on their whiskers, and then one would grab it and
But if you think about it, like back then, they probably one of the scrolls had the design of a paperclip, and and that information was lost, and somebody had to like rethink of the paperclip in like 1870 or something like that. It took 2,000 years for man to sort of genetically remember that that's something that we can do. We can twist wire around to hold paper together because
yeah, because it's
why wouldn't
carved
you?
into the stone. It shows us.
Yeah, and so just you could. I mean, if you think about it, the civilization in Africa that we didn't hear about, but our kids all learned. People out there that are educators know what I'm talking about. It starts with an E, or Urdu, or something like that. It's a civilization in Africa, right? So they had this civilization with cities and laws, and I mean, the Egyptians are Africans, right? They
Yeah.
were something 4,000 years ago. They had dynasties going and stuff, and they had and things, right? And so, but yet there are tribes in Africa that live in grass huts and and fish with maybe spears, or they gather together, hunt or gather. They make, they collect the reeds and they make the baskets. They weave baskets. Very simple lives, even though there could have been a grand civilization 4,000 years ago. Well, why not 14,000 years ago, there was some grand civilization that rose up and then declined, and we lost all that information. And so someday we'll be able to carve a hole in granite just as good as those ancient holes.
What took us so long, by the way, to come up with computers? Why didn't they come up with the computer
And songs
1,000 years ago?
has the that every kid knows that there's civilizations in Africa. But Randy and I were taught the only people that were civilized were white Europeans.
Right.
Right? That's the only. And then every now and then it would be like, yeah, but the Chinese people had it 1,000 years earlier. Right? It's like only white Europeans did stuff, but the Chinese people had gunpowder 500 years before. But we don't. But just forget that information as soon as you hear it. But just we told you it, but don't worry about it. It's just white Europeans, right? And paper, yes, paper was abundant in the Middle Ages. But yes, China had paper 2,000 years earlier. But don't worry about it. It's just all you have to know is that European civilization is what got us to where we are today. So I grew up thinking that everywhere else in the world they were kind of had a third grade education, maybe at tops, and lived in grass huts or whatever, right? And then there's something like in Budapest, which is on the other side of the Iron Curtain, that we wouldn't hear anything about. They had like the first university in Europe, and it's like, oh, and look at their buildings are like their downtowns are like 700 years old. We're lucky in America to see a house that's like more than 100 years old that's still standing, right?
Yeah, unless you go to St. Augustine, Florida.
Yeah, St. Augustine, Florida. What's the oldest house that is livable there?
Yeah, well, yeah, old town. You know, speaking of white uh, Europeans that came over here, it's a dang good thing that there were more than just them, because that was my form, by the way, of pornography when I was a kid, is the National Geographics that would show these naked pygmies running around, you
Are
know.
you the ones that borrowed my National Geographic? Is that what you're saying? You must have lived near me, and you must have borrowed them.
Only the ones with naked pygmies in them.
Yes, there you go. Song says there were universities in Africa, and we just only know about it recently because, you know, information is lost, right? What do they have those electronic things where they can scan the ground with like sonar and radar and something else and chewing gum all at once, and they can carve out where there could have been a civilization and roads, and they're saying that lidar, right? And it doesn't even matter if the trees are there. They can still tell from the ground habitations that there were roads or civilizations. They can tell that there's spaced out things and stuff like that, or whatever it is. And so there's so much that you only want to say what you can prove, right? So, like Song said, until they can prove that there were universities in Africa, they wouldn't teach us to it because nobody knew about it. Everywhere that wasn't white European was not Aborigines, but what do they call them? Savages, right? Because
Yeah.
they didn't have Big Ben as their town clock, and they didn't drink champagne from France. And
They shrunk heads and they ate each other.
there you go, cannibals, right? They were
Mhm.
cannibals.
Cannibals and headhunters. Songs should jump on here
Yeah, she should. I don't know if she's in a spot where she has a good internet.
because we love songs.
We do
We love songs of our own.
songs of our
But
own.
yeah,
We dance to the song of our own.
We danced to the
But,
beat of a different drum, Gene, you and I. I mean, seriously, who needs guests when we're so damn clever? We can just entertain each other.
that's right. I think if I monetize this show and ran it for about 17,000 years, we could buy a cup of coffee with it.
Well, I I'm not that optimistic that I'm going to be around for 17,000 years.
So you're
If
going to
I'm
make coffee
around for
tomorrow?
if I'm around for another 1,000 years, I'll be really surprised.
Right, another 10 years for me sometimes on one hand. Well, I'm not going to be surprised, but just going to hate every day of life, right? It's everything's going to hurt when you wake up. Everybody's going to, all your friends are dying. And
Okay, that's
I mean,
already happening to me, by the way.
that everything hurts when you wake up.
Yeah, I wake up and my feet hurt, my back hurts. Sometimes my head hurts. And I'm thinking, I'm getting freaking old.
Yeah, and it's just that it seems like it's everything now, but it's just a little bit of our feet and a little bit of our head and a little bit of our back. 10
Yeah,
years from now, we're going to say, boy, I wish I was 66 again.
right. Yeah, I go to the doctor and I say, hey, I've got this issue. And she says, well, the issue is you've got too many candles on your birthday cake. That's it. I'm like, okay, well, if it's just old age, I guess I'll live with it. My dad used to say, don't get old, you'll live to regret it. You're muted. Oh, you're probably talking to someone else. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're doing. So it's the Randy show right now. Because every now and then Gene will mute himself and have a conversation with somebody. He just did a drug deal, and oh, he's getting down to the nuts and bolts of this show. So um, apparently, he's going to be putting his computer together as we visit because he's got all the hardware now. He's going to mount. He's going to mount his monitor, and I mean in a clean way, not a dirty way, because there's many times where he's watched, those naked pygmies and wants to mount his monitor, but it's never satisfying for him. So now he's comparing his height with that of his friend Randy, and also talking about how big the fish was that he caught this last weekend. But I do trust that Gene, that you're not, that we can't hear you, right? You're well aware of that you're completely muted. And I'm fortunately reading your lips and able to communicate to the world out there exactly what you're saying. And thank you, Mary S. Curry, for saying that we have soothing voices. Maybe we should be hypnotists.
I had to unplug and plug in my mic again.
Oh, he's back. It's okay. I
Yeah.
covered it for you.
So, so we have the widescreen TV that we got for some friends that it was fuzzy for the guy, or it would get glitchy. So he bought a whole new TV, and they gave us the glitchy one because it might be better than our TV. You never know. Right?
Well, there's a little something funky going on with your sound. It's like there's
It's still
staticky.
weird.
Yeah, a little weird.
Well,
I mean,
I
I
have
can
it.
still hear you.
Yeah, so I don't know. My microphone goes off every now and then. Could be a wire loose. So
Have you attached the flux capacitor onto it?
I haven't. I'm running off of a billionth of a watt.
You need
Trying
to
to get
attach
out
that and
there.
then have Michelle jump in the car and get going 88 miles an hour. You'll be amazed what your computer does.
Yeah. So I was going to say that the widescreen TV is twice is going to give us like twice as much room, right? Our old TV is like this big, and the new TV is this big.
Wow.
So it's like double the cubic inches, the square inches, and
Yeah.
and so there was a platform that the stand, and they gave us the stand and the TV without any screws to mount the TV. And we were talking about mounting. They were mounting screws, and
I was pretty close on when I said you were mounting your monitor.
yes, it's like a 70-inch TV, diagonal,
Wow,
and
that's nice.
and so that's where I was going. So anyway, so I was going like this because the movie called Defending Your Life, um, the main character is talking with Meryl Streep about they have died and they're in the next realm, and they have to defend their life. They have to prove that they weren't afraid anymore, right? And the more you can prove you're not afraid anymore, your brain grows. The amount of brain that you can use. So they say that Earthlings only use 3 to 5%, and they call Earthlings little brains behind their back. And when you advance, and so somebody who's defending one of them has like 47% of their brain, and it's clocked. And then so Meryl Streep is explaining how big her lawyer's brain is, and he goes, "Oh, how big?" And she goes, "Brain envy."
Yeah,
So
congratulations to him
Tim
because
has joined us, but I don't see him.
and unless someone is crumpling paper behind you, you're still a little staticky when you speak. Well, that got rid of that. So, Tim Rathbone, are you in the studio? I guess that's the question. We're back to the Randy Show. I appreciate you coming back. Um, we're taking a little break from Gene while he works
So
out
now
his.
can you hear me?
Oh, I could always hear you.
Oh,
There's
It's
Tim.
just that there's. Well, Mr. Timothy Rathbone,
yes.
is your real given name Timothy or just Tim?
It's Thomas.
Oh, it's Thomas. Well, I would not have
Yes.
guessed that.
Well, you can thank my grandmother for that
I will write her a little letter and thank her
one.
for.
It's Thomas Ignatius Matthew, Tim. That's his whole.
Thomas Earl.
Well, once again, wouldn't have guessed that.
Well, okay. Here's the story. My
My other brother
father's name.
Earl.
My father's name is John Albert Thomas, but he went by Tom. We were at my grandparents' house in Cheyenne, and me and my sisters had the measles. We were down in the basement, and they kept on calling Tom. And I'd answer, and Dad would answer. And Grandma Sarah Lois Wild, Michelson Wild would say the little one's Timmy and the big one's Tom. And that was it.
Well, there you go. And so the name was born when
The
I was
name
a
was born.
when I was about 12. I had a niece who was born, and as she grew up, she could never pronounce Randy, so it came out random, and so
Hmm.
random became my nickname for time and all eternity amongst my family members.
It's almost like a prophecy.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly like prophecy, only a little different.
My mom's
yeah.
name was Shirley, but her niece called her Julie, and so that became like a nickname for her for a little while.
So Timmy, Julie, and random.
And I'm named after
Uh,
another relative. I'm named after my aunt. my aunt Jean, but because my parents had two boy above me, right, in order, and they just assumed the math would say girl time, right? Little did they know they would have two more boys after me as well. So
So you're a
it's
gender
just like
traitor.
it's the same thing with rolling the dice, no matter or flipping a coin rather, right? No matter how many heads you flip in a row, it's still a 50-50 chance the next time.
Right?
Yeah.
And so,
Knowing that you were going to be on the show today, Tim, I brought this along. This is a little device that makes a kitty noise.
Oh no.
How fun is that? I'm going to actually put it in my cigar smoking buddy's car, stick it up under the seat, because every hour it'll do some kind of cat noise. He's deathly afraid of ghosts, no pun intended. So he's going to think, because we had a ghost cat in our home, and maybe we still do, but we could hear a cat or a kitten before we ever had a cat or a kitten, and we would search the house and nothing. So now he'll
Crazy.
hear cat every hour.
Crazy.
Blessed be the fruit, Tim.
May the Lord open.
Absolutely.
Tim, we wanted to get your feedback now that we've been on this episode for 45 minutes.
So are we live or are we taping?
We are live.
Oh, hi everybody who's ever
So
watching.
no nudity, unless you have a friend that who's like 26.
Well, okay.
But I wanted to
Did
know,
you just say no
Tim, tell us
nudity?
a little bit about where you first heard of him and what things that you recall of hearing about him that you were hoping he would talk about more that didn't share, we'll say.
I wanted him to talk more about the UAPs.
Me too. Amen.
So
And
he knows
somehow,
more about unidentified aerial phenomena than he let on to.
and the 0 point energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every time we would ask him about a deeper question about like what information did you give to somebody or whatever, he would talk about, well, my wife lived next door to somebody famous and here's their name, and then he would go on and tell a story about it, and it was interesting. I was interested the whole time.
Yes.
Name dropping. I was looking up all the names he mentioned. Every name he mentioned was somebody famous, somebody that has a Wikipedia page, somebody that has done something in the world other than 0 point energy, but some of them had to do with UAPs and other things like that as well that he mentioned.
Yes.
But
Yes.
like he mentioned, so and so gave up $1 billion in order to work with us on the 0 point energy. So I looked up that guy, and it said that he was the president of his company that he founded, and he resigned because people thought it wouldn't be good for the public relations if the president and founder of their company that currently was in charge of things believed in UFOs. And so he resigned to do more UFO stuff so that it wouldn't freak out potential buyers. But you know, if I'm gonna sit in a comfortable chair made by some company where the guy believes in UFOs, I'm gonna buy the chair. I don't care necessarily. It'd be like saying, "Oh, that guy's a Baptist. I don't want to buy his chair."
Right. Right.
Well, the best way to fill up a hotel is to let the public know that it's supposedly haunted,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
people will flock to that hotel.
Sure they
I
will.
know. I know for a fact.
it's a pet.
I owned a bed and breakfast in Memphis, Tennessee. And I shouldn't say, yeah, it was a bed and breakfast. It was a day spa combined, and that was 100% absolutely haunted, like visual, real life sightings, and me having them
Apparitions.
frequently. Yeah, well, it was one in particular, one lady who would appear and who would manifest herself on a regular basis, and the neighbors knew who she was while she was alive, and they would see her all the time after she passed in the windows of the place that where my day spa and bed and breakfast were. And her name was Miss Dudley. And I mean, that's a whole story, but it's amazing. And so the news crews would come and set up and interview me because they wanted to, get the word out there that there's really a haunted place in Memphis, Tennessee. And sure as heck, Miss Dudley never let me down while the news crews were there. they she would do something to let them know, hey, yeah, I'm here. And
Wow.
and so that our business increased tenfold after that interviews, I should say.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this show, this channel, Latter Day Digest, is haunted. It's haunted by the spirit of Randy Watts.
Wait, where's my sound effect?
You
Got
have
to get that sound effect in.
That's not a very
Do it,
scary
do it
sound.
again. Do it again.
Well, it's going to be evil now. That's a little more haunted.
It sounds like
Well,
you have gas and you're really good at keeping your cheeks really tight.
you did. I have a real one here that just meowed twice.
Really?
Yes, she answered.
Oh,
My little
Oh, there she
chihuahua,
goes again.
who's in my arms right now.
I have a stray cat that about 8 years ago, we figured actually its birthday is probably July 4th because we got it and we looked up the size and it was like 6 or 8 weeks old. And we went backwards and figured we got it like in September, and 8 weeks earlier was July 4th. So I forgot to celebrate Rascal Bob's birthday yesterday. But
That's hurtful.
so he was a kitten, and I was in between jobs, and so I would get ivy strands of just hanging ivy. It's like a weed. It's in the back of our property line.
Right.
Get a strand, and I would wave it around in front of him like it was like one of those feather cat toys, right? And I taught him how to hunt, right? All the genetic material that was in me from our common ancestor from like 5 million years ago. I channeled that, and our cat and Rascal was a really good mouser, and he loved me for like 5 years, and then about 3 or 4 years ago, I started to be like the enemy, almost like he would look at me like, someday I'm going to eat you. Just want you to know. And so he became Michelle's friend after that.
Well, he probably thought you were a mouse, in all fairness.
I am very mousy sometimes.
What was his name?
Rascal Bob.
Oh,
So-
Rascal Bob.
I wanted to name him Bob, like Bobcat, and then a neighbor friend wanted to name him Rascal. So we thought, well, we'll name him Rascal Bob.
I had a cat named Ben-Hur. It was named Ben, and then Ben had kittens, so it became Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
So, her spelled H-E-R.
I know that story all too well.
Are you just not good at identifying cat parts?
No,
No.
I'm not actually.
Well, it depends. It depends on how old they are.
I don't
Like,
I don't think I've ever seen a cat's testicles or anything for that matter. They're all covered in fur.
no, they're easy to find. They're easy
Well,
to
I'm
find.
not gonna go feeling around. I'm just saying,
No,
you know,
you
like
can see them. I
you know where the testes are on a rooster, Tim? They're
no,
Hard to
under
reach.
they're under the wing, under each
really.
wing where their testicles are.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow. I did not know that.
yeah. Just
I could.
a little trivia.
So if you see a
I could.
rooster scratching under its armpit, you know it's pleasuring itself.
Time to give it a chicken bath.
So that reminds me of one of Steve Martin's jokes early on in his career. He would say, "You know, people say cats don't like baths. I gave my cat a bath the other day. He liked it. I liked it." And then he went, and you're like, "Oh, some hair." Like, that.
Yeah, the fur stuck to his tongue, but other than
Yeah, the
that, it was
first.
great.
Yeah, except for that part. So, Tim, tell us more about what you know of of our guest's experience with UAPs that you did not divulge.
Well, he's involved with Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back and look at some of the messages that we shared.
Yeah, he mentioned a couple of guys from Skinwalker Ranch, and I looked them up, and they're real people. They're doing stuff. They're making money. They're producing shows. They're showing people. It's like modern day real life Ghostbusters, right? They've got their gauges. Their what do you call the Ghostbuster things? Like
The the
tachyon.
talking about the ray gun things.
Well, not like the meters that.
Oh,
When you,
yeah, the plasma meter thingies.
plasma meter ghost finder things, and
Well, I
they've got
happen
all
to have
those
one
things
in
that
my drawer.
they can tell when there's an anomaly in the electromagnetic portion of the Earth. And Richard's correcting his hit like, subscribe, but no more blessings. Oh no. Oh, or no more blessings. That's right. We want everyone to have blessing.
I have one in my drawer, but my microphone is hooked up so that it's keeping my drawer from opening. But the
So,
spectrometer things, I have
yeah,
because my son Garrett and I are both ghost hunters.
because that's one thing is like ghosts are also specters, right?
Yeah.
How many different names of ghosts are there?
Oh gosh, there's a gazillion of them.
Well, there's
Apparition.
poltergeists, there's specters,
Phantoms. Uh,
phantoms.
um,
Um,
well, spirits, apparitions,
If we keep on
cryptids.
repeating the same words over and over again, it sounds like a long list.
hang
But
on,
look,
hang on.
Mary, our international audience from Scotland, says that we should do more live random chats. And so it's keeping her up. And normally our soothed, dulcet tones help people with insomnia. But for Mary, it's keeping her awake. But she's loving it.
Yeah.
Richard said it's a low cost. It costs almost nothing to watch us. All that it costs is if some other really good podcast is on at the same time that you should be watching.
You haven't gotten my bill yet.
That's right.
That's right. He has not gotten our bill.
Songs loves the random chats.
We love you too,
The
folks.
Mormon atheist wants to know what are the opinions of the Skinwalker Ranch. Real or not real?
It's
So
real.
here's the deal. Randy can tell us stories about voodoo, whether voodoo works or not. Randy himself might not think that voodoo works, but Randy knows people that think it works, right?
That's correct.
So
Yes.
he's been given testimony that people are afraid if they're in voodoo. And if you think about it, the same thing happens when missionaries from the Mormon Church go on a mission. If they don't go, they will be haunted by Satan or God, or they won't go to heaven, right? So it's the same kind of fear that caused Randy and Tim to go on a mission. Now, I had more fear of telling the bishop what I actually was doing with my young teenage body. And so I didn't go there.
You didn't have anyone reaching under your wings, right?
Nobody was testing to see if the plumbing was working.
I didn't go because I was scared.
I didn't either. I was excited to go, but
Yeah, I was excited to go.
we had some serious evil things happen on my mission. That,
but there are lots of kids that go because they don't want to disappoint their parents,
or their dad's going to get them a car, or their girl's not going to marry them.
Oh, right, they won't be able to get a good Mormon wife. Now, if you weren't psyched out by thinking you needed a Mormon wife, right?
Right.
And how many Mormon wives did you go through, Tim?
Actually, 2 of the women I were married to were Mormons.
You went through 2
at the same time?
2 Mormons.
No.
It wasn't a true Mormon in the true tradition.
The last woman I was married to was a convert at 8, but she hadn't been to church for who knows how long. Yeah.
That's right. And Kate, I hope you're here. I hope you saw our last show where it talks about how the intersection of Mormonism and 0-point technology. And I remember the Pons and Fleischman, what was their thing? Cold fusion. And I remember thinking that it was University of Utah that they did the announcement, right? And I was thinking, wow, God is blessing the Mormon scholars with this knowledge of future things that we're going to need in order to power all the wonderful technology God's going to bless us with, right? And so there was, but it's a bigger Mormon story than I ever knew before since we got our guest on, right?
Well, God wanted these inventors to make millions of dollars instead of sharing it with the world. Because anytime anyone would invent an engine that ran on H2O or was an alternative to gas, these oil companies would buy them out. And if they didn't sell, they'd kill them. And I'm not even making that up.
And I was thinking about that today. If you have an invention that you're working on and you think the world's going to beat a path to your door, what are you thinking? You don't want anybody stealing it from you, right?
Right.
So you're going to be pretty closed lips, right? Close your mouth, whatever. You're not going to be bragging all over town that you're going to change the world. Now, you might drop weird hints and they might think you're a weirdo, right? Oh, that guy's always tinkering in his garage, right? He keeps to himself, he's eccentric. He's absent-minded, right? The absent-minded professor, right? And somehow that probably sends signals to the powers that be, right? Let's watch this guy. And then when they finally solve the technological problem, they mess with people. And it would be hard. I mean, there's 360 almost million people in America. How many people do you know in your town? Like a couple of dozen, right?
Yeah.
There could be somebody doing 0-point technology in Utah and Spokane in San Leandro, California, and they're working on it. We don't even know about it, right? And then if they actually discovered it, the people with a lot of money have a lot of power. They could search people's internet, right? They could find out what they're searching and say, oh, they're coming close to 0-point technology, and they could make them go away. And people would just say, oh, I'm glad that neighbor's gone. And you never know. Like Randy, his neighbor just recently discovered some amazing thing because they're moving.
Yeah. I'll tell you what happened. There was a kid, his name was Marty. And this happened back in the 70s, but this kid was a time traveler. And he actually showed up. I'm sorry if you can hear that dog.
I think
That's
your time
fine.
traveling dog just appeared in your house.
He actually showed up and met his parents before they were even married, and was somehow he was afraid that if he didn't do the right thing, that his parents would not get married like they were supposed to, and he would disappear. And every time his mother started getting close to another guy, he'd disappear more and more. But luckily, he
Oh,
was a professor who was able to help him develop a flux capacitor to get him to harness the lightning out of the sky and get him back to his home.
And his actual name or his nickname was Smarty, but when they did the movie about his life, they took the S out, and they just called him Marty in the movie
They took the S out?
of his nickname, Smarty. They called him Smarty in the
Smarty.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so
So,
to change his name to protect the innocent, they called him
yeah.
Marty in the movie.
I saw the actual footage at the theater.
There you go.
okay. All right.
So, time travel is something intriguing. There's a lot of people that believe in it. Tim, what do you think about time travel? Will it ever happen?
Well, I don't. Okay. From a standpoint of view of how the Earth moves through the universe, it's a spiral. Okay. We're being dragged along. The sun is like a comet, and it's dragging us along to the outer edge of the galaxy. Right. And we're spiraling. We're never in the same place at the same time ever, because every time we move. So to time travel, you would have to go back to the exact time and point in space time to get there. So as far as that is concerned, I don't see how it's possible.
Plus, my brother came up with this theory when he was like 18. If time travel was available in the future, we'd be seeing people in all over the place all the time. Like, because the future is not just like 10 years from now.
There is no future. There is no past.
It's
there is
100,000 years in the future.
But they don't exist.
Every 100 years, there's a whole nother generation that'd be able to time travel here.
Yeah, but Gene, there is no future and there is no past. All there is right now, this moment, is all there is. There isn't anything before or after. There's just this.
Well, I'm telling you, if we don't get more than 7 people watching at a time, there's no future for our live after show.
And if you were able to step out of this time stream, you can see the beginning from the end. And I've done that sometimes. When you're able to step out of this time stream, and you can see the beginning and the end at the same time. So in that sense, it is possible.
You just dove into the deep end of the pool right there, Tim.
Right.
Yeah, because in one whole sentence, you said not only is there no past or future, but you've seen the beginning and the end at the same time.
Because that's all there is this. Sentence. And think about this. Every second of every day, one more thing is happening than happened the second before. There is more happening in every second, every day than there was a million years ago. Like a million years ago, when a second happened, there wasn't a lot of things happening. Now today, every second.
If somebody knew what was happening a million years ago, it was you, Tim.
Right. Yes, that's why I know. See, it wasn't. If you think about this, that more and more is happening every second of every day than happened the second before. So like a billion things are happening right now, and then the next second 1,000,000,001, and then 1,000,000,002. billionth. It just progressive.
Maybe I said this last week. I don't remember, but it's like someone showing you a photo and saying, "Here's a photo of when I was younger." Well, no kidding, because every single photograph of you is when you were younger, even if you just took it 5 seconds ago.
That's
Tim
right.
has a
Five
photo of when
seconds
he was
younger.
older, though,
You
Randy.
you can't show a photo of you when you're older.
That's right. See,
That's
and
it's the same thing when people say,
like,
"Oh, I finally found my keys. It was in the last place I looked." Well, who keeps
right,
on looking after
Right?
you find something? It's
that's right.
always the last
The
place you
last
look.
place you looked.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
always the wrong place.
but with remote viewing, it is possible to view the past and the future, or to view at least a time stream of what could be possible in the future. But our conscious minds can change everything. We can change the future. Apparently, we had something happen in, what was it, 2009, when the Mayan calendar ended, that something was supposed to happen and it didn't, and we went off on a different time stream. But this leads to me talking about this book I just got. Okay, it's called Thinking in Destiny by Percival. I think everybody should get this and read it. This explains a lot about what I'm talking about. I've just started to read it.
Thinking and
Now,
Destiny,
did
Thinking
you
in
read that
Destiny.
book over time?
brought to
Yes,
you by
And
Kellogg's.
did you read it from front to back, or did you
not yet. I just
randomly pick a word to read every day? You read a different word at a different spot
no,
so that you can understand it better.
Or
no.
did you read it remotely?
But I read it remotely. Okay,
Or
so let me give you an example.
rocking the hat.
Okay, Sunday night, I got the impression that I should go get a soldering iron. All right, and I couldn't find my soldering iron because a
Well,
neighbor. Yeah,
who
wait, let
hasn't
me
had that
finish.
impression?
Well, wait. This goes to what happened Monday when we got on with Maurice, and I couldn't get my ring light to work because I pulled the wires out of the switch here, and these had come out, and so I had to go by and I knew I had, and I says, well, that's why I had the universe, um, the what's the ontology was telling me you need to go get a soldering iron to fix this problem. And so I went right after our interview. I went down to Harbor Freight and bought a soldering iron and solder so I could fix this. So Tuesday we could have it working. So that
There,
was
there
just
are
an
things
input.
like that.
Microphone working right?
Whose
Yours,
Who's?
Gene's.
is it
There's a crackly sound when he speaks.
still doing the crackly sounds?
Or maybe my ears are doing that.
I don't know.
Maybe I have
Anybody else in
crackly
the
ears.
audience hear crackly sounds when I'm talking?
It's not happening right now.
Okay, just whenever. It could be a ghost.
Yeah, could be.
So, so
So there's only now, and that's all there is.
but you
So
just said before the now where you needed to fix your thing. You needed
well, I got an
there was
impression.
another now that you bought a soldering thing.
Well, I got the impression Sunday that I should get a soldering iron. I didn't know why. I was thinking about, so all of a sudden this impression came into my mind about solder and a soldering iron. And I didn't know why. And then Monday when we tried to do the interview with Maurice, and I couldn't get my ring light working because the wires had been pulled out. So I had to go get a soldering iron to fix it. You know?
Okay, we have some questions and we're going to try to go through. So Kate is actually typing words one after another,
Oh boy.
even though there's no time. It's
She's
amazing.
Crap,
multitasking.
let me get water.
And she says, if there's no present, past, or future, I'm eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner right now while taking a bath and walking the dog, all at the
That's
same
right.
time.
That's right. There is no time.
Things are so complicated.
There is no
And yet
time.
it seems like after a certain amount of time, I get hungry, no matter what, even though I've already just been eating the whole time. weird that way. Kate also says, I'm going to use my conscious mind to erase that I was ever Mormon. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
Am I
that's where that
correcting?
Men in Black thing would come in handy. That
No.
little red laser that makes
The
them
memory
forget.
messer-upper.
Yeah, that's the
So-
technical name for it. Yeah,
Kate says it's my mic that's crackling.
I think it might be.
Yeah. It's because he's eating Snap Crackle Pop at the same time. He's
Right.
doing a
I'm eating.
podcast.
Right. I don't know.
The breakfast that he had 50 years ago is coming back.
Mary, I want you to know that I have clear glasses, but I have several toppers that I put on there, depending on the outfit that I'm wearing. And I'm wearing my.
It's not a magic trick.
You can't see because
Here.
Mary's words are up there, but it's coat. My coat shirt. If I raise it any higher, you have to throw me beads. But, yeah. And I have a pair of gold glasses that would go better with it. But
Is this better? Kate, is this better?
It's too close right there. Too close.
Okay, where is it good?
So it's probably like another inch away from your mouth is good, but somehow the whole system is crackling because of wires. That's why you have the soldering iron is to fix your effing.
I could get another microphone.
there's no crackling at this very moment in time. That was
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And we're in luck because there's no future.
So
Right.
see, if we study the past and the future, did it ever happen? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Something
That's like
happened.
Mormon atheist question. It seems like
What
they
is
were
this?
studying. You know what? All the things we know about the studies in the 70s and 80s, we're finding out now because they don't want us to know about what they're studying right now. And I think they might be studying Tim.
They're in a lot of trouble.
I'm starting to believe that there's a matrix and that there's glitches in the matrix because I am not kidding. This is a true story. I went to
Okay.
my closet. One of my favorite, it's a green shirt. It's kind of a hippie shirt and it's loose and comfy. And I was really disappointed that one of the buttons was missing because then it'd be open to my navel practically. And so I didn't wear it. And as I was hanging up another shirt, I saw this green shirt and I'm like, what shirt is that? And I pulled it out of my closet and it's the identical same shirt that's missing a button. And I'm telling you, I did not buy two of the exact same shirt.
Sure you did.
I'm telling you that's a glitch in the matrix because how did I end up with these two identical shirts that are my favorite shirt, but I never had two. I only had one.
So here's how good this show is. Derek wanted to know where Randy got his shirt, and I just texted Derek where he can get a shirt like that.
Good. You sent him the link.
So I forwarded him the link.
I need to get a commission from the company that makes these shirts.
And I have to tell you, Maurice actually texted me 20 minutes ago. And he said, hi, Gene, I'm sorry, but I just got your message because I sent it to him a message few hours before the show. Is this message today, July 5th? Which, according to Tim, I might have sent this message like 50 years ago or like 500 years ago. I don't even know.
Or maybe day after tomorrow.
If so, do I understand that you are meeting again on Sunday, July 6th at 2 p.m. Pacific? Could I possibly make that time if I still have help getting the link? Also, I understand that I have notes that you want to see. I think you may be relating to that rough draft graph I drew out for Dr. Greer's assistant, Patricia Pearsall. Yes, Maurice, send us everything you can, right?
All right.
Regarding her CE5 groups. She wanted me to touch her too.
Now I
go by. Remember this moment
I
back 10
I
seconds.
could talk about a real glitch in the matrix that happened the other day.
Okay, let me finish Maurice's letter real quick.
Okay.
It was made for her benefit so she could understand all the crossover associations of high tech, UFOs, energy projects, and how they've been part of my life. One such example was the MX missile project in Utah, another Utah Mormon thing, and how Mormons credited President Spencer W. Kimball with killing the project. Oh, okay, so it was an anti-Mormon project. Cost us billions of dollars, but that's not the real story, which is quite fascinating to hear. So he has the real story behind the MX missile situation. And then he says, I'd suggest that if you wanted to see that rough chart I made, send me an email address and I could send you a copy. Then we must definitely visit on phone so I can discuss in detail what it means and then focus on specific incremental pieces of interest for later discussions so it makes more sense. Because I am computer illiterate, like we all are, right? I will need a little more notification of any future podcast so I can be available. I've had some problems. He's talking about his seizure, and then his Down syndrome daughter has some issues. And one reason he was busy with that, why he missed my message earlier. It would help if your messages include a date, as I have quite a few messages that people want me to speak to different groups, and it's hard to determine old messages from new. Thanks, Gene. So I'm going to heart that message, and I'll get back to him soon. But yeah, you know what I hate nowadays is on the messaging, somebody sends you a message and you think it was 20 minutes earlier, and if you respond, it doesn't tell you sometimes when the other message was anymore. It says now you just sent something.
You're all being mighty calm. I saw a ghost. I'm not kidding. When something, keep this in the video so people will know to back up after I said, I just saw a ghost. Watch what happens over Tim's head that goes by him. Just when it happened, when we edit this video, don't edit out the part where I said, I just saw a ghost.
So everybody right now, you can go back and then play it fast forward, but and then type in the comments what it was.
You sure it wasn't a cat?
Well, unless your cat is transparent and floats.
Right. Oh, that was a piece of fur, I think.
Oh, well, that could have been catching the light.
Yeah.
No, that could be. I thought it was a specter.
I have near me 3 cats right now. I think maybe four. But anyway. But no, this happened the other day. Is we have cats we need to get fixed, and I caught one, and I wanted to catch the other one. Okay, and so I closed all the doors in the hallway to catch that cat, and there was nowhere that cat could have gone. I closed the doors to the closet, all the doors in the hallway, to the bedrooms, to the bathrooms. Everything was shut, and I was chasing him, and all of a sudden he disappeared.
Cats are creepy like that.
No, but there was nowhere. There was nowhere he could have gone. Okay, I mean, there's nowhere he could have gone. So I went back in my room, and I was sitting in the chair on my bed, and I was looking, and he came by, and I went, "Where did he come from?" So I quickly ran out, closed the door, and grabbed him with a towel and stuck him in the carrier. But he I couldn't find. There was nowhere he could have gone.
If you're Tim's evil ghostly cat, give us a sign. Did you hear that? Give us a better sign, like a louder sign. See? You've got a ghost cat.
That's weird.
And everyone heard it here first.
I must be getting old. I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear that?
Yeah.
I did.
Tim heard it.
I don't know if it was from yours or mine, though, because mine are meowing, too.
I don't have a cat. Well, Amanda has a cat, but it's not speaking.
I am my wife's cool cat.
Cool.
Oh.
That's cool.
So, getting back to Skinwalker Ranch, yes, it's real. There's a lot of, you should watch the videos about Skinwalker Ranch. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there.
We had a missionary on
fact,
my mission who swears that while driving through Skinwalker Ranch, there was a what they thought to be a human who looked at him, and he was just wearing a loincloth, and looked at him in the car and started walking towards him, and they bolted because he didn't look friendly. And this guy stayed up with the car and looked over at him as he's running. And they were doing like 35, 40 miles an hour before they finally lost him. But they swear up and down that that was a skinwalker.
yeah.
Shapeshifters,
Well,
right?
I had an ex-brother-in-law that lived out near there, and he lived in Duchesne, and my ex-wife and I would go out there to visit him. And there's definitely a feeling out there. I can tell you that much. There is something out there.
Randy's a shapeshifter. He's he's half the man he used to be.
Okay, Randy's half the man he used to be. All right.
I used to weigh a lot more. I used to weigh 310 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
I weigh 198 now. So you do the
Wow.
math. It's 112 pounds lost.
I think one of my favorite, your mother's so fat that when she sits around the house, she sits around the house.
She puts her makeup on with a paint roller, right?
Okay. So, what else do we want to talk about?
So what other things about UAPs did he know about? And I guess it's the intersection that he was talking about in the message.
Well, see, the thing with Maurice is he knows so many people, and he's like a nexus that everything goes through. And I didn't realize that, because what he sent me was stuff about 0 point energy, and that the church wanted to invest in it, but that they didn't want anything brought to the church office building.
My basketball coach thought that I was a 0 point energy because he never played me. So every game I scored 0 points.
Haha. Because he sent me a picture of this device. I think I sent it to you, this 0 point energy device. Come on.
Maurice did?
Yeah. Let me turn off the light so it's not.
It looks like a transmission. So they have a prototype, and does it function? Or was that
Yes,
one?
that functions. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an actual 0 point energy device that came from a UFO from the desert. That's what Maurice told me.
Well, maybe we should be working on that. Maybe we should start marketing that.
Well, see, he told me that. Let me see.
It's a transmission,
Okay.
Randy, and it's really easy to reverse engineer.
Okay, Dr. Glenn Foster, Mormon U.S. intelligence officer, instructed us to never take anything free energy we're working onto the Mormon church office building. And then he showed me a picture of that. We are still going forward contractually with scientists from Skinwalker Ranch and our scientist on this partial trisomy gyroscope designed from the skin of a downed UFO on the desert. Okay.
Why would they? I'm just curious. Why would they take it to the church?
Yeah, I was just wondering the same thing. Like to get a priesthood blessing.
The church wanted to invest in it. It would have been an investment. The irony is that I am currently working on reverse engineering of the device they are talking about.
Irony.
Yeah. My scientists are working with the scientists of the Brandon Fugel Skinwalker Ranch, and we are just finishing contractual arrangements. Had a partial device gyroscope in my house 6 months ago. When Steve Greer found out, he had his assistant immediately call me and told me not to turn it on. It wasn't a complete device, so I didn't have to worry. The device was designed under a microscope from the skin of a UFO that went down in the desert. I'm interested in duplicating it not so much as a propulsion device, time machine for UFOs,
Hello.
but for a free energy device that never needs to be charged. So that's what he sent me.
Yes,
Well-
like you start out with a 9-volt battery, but then it doesn't have to be charged ever again.
That's right. That's right. That's that device. So
Okay, so I did see Superman fly the opposite way the Earth was spinning and flew
Turn
fast
back time.
enough to turn back time. Is maybe that's how they
then
do it.
he would have had to have taken the whole solar system and turned the whole thing back in
Well,
time.
it's Superman, so he probably did.
Well, he just took the Earth back. He didn't take the whole thing.
Well, I just think that's pretty incredible, and I think we need to find us a downed UFO.
Jim
And-
just blew that whole movie for me now.
I know it's kind of
I
disappointing.
can't trust Superman anymore now.
It's
the
like
whole
they make
universe.
it up. I'm
The
telling
whole
you, I think
universe
they
is
make it up.
collapsing around me. It's like the Matrix when Neo does that thing and it just turns into just numbers falling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, numbers. That's all it is numbers. Anyway.
I did not know that in every Seinfeld episode there's a Superman reference. Did you know that?
Well, there's a
No, I did not
Superman
know
on
that.
Jerry Seinfeld's fridge too.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Always-
that must be it.
Yeah, it's like Playboy magazine has the hidden bunny on all the covers. Not that I would know that, but yeah, there's little every
I don't
cover
believe
has a
that,
hidden.
Randy. I'm going to have to
bunny.
do some research on that.
Is that like a Mickey Mouse in every single Disney film?
Well, there are Easter eggs in the Disney films, just like Playboy bunnies on the cover.
They
So
also
it's-
hide other things other than Mickey Mouses that are quite nasty in Disney cartoons.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Lion King, where the lion plops into the dust and it writes out the word "sexy."
Yeah.
The dust.
No, it doesn't. That's not
Oh,
true. Don't you know that?
Always,
That's-
yes, it is.
I know.
Beg to differ with your pardon.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Depends on what universe you're in, Randy.
Right.
I
Right.
had a sister-in-law that stole our case, the not DVD videotape back then of the Littlest Mermaid or Little Mermaid,
Right?
where it had the castle was made out of dildos, and
Right.
the Imagineer that created that was terminated, and
You
he
mean
left.
fired? They're still alive afterwards.
Yeah, he's still alive. But yeah, my sister-in-law stole it from us. Otherwise, it's a collector's item because when they realized it, they had to change the design and make it like a castle instead of a sex toy.
No,
I
it's
thought
not
you
a
were saying when
castle.
they
It's
realized they
it's the pipe organ. The pipes on the pipe organ.
Oh, is that what it is?
Oh yeah, it wasn't the castle. It was the pipes on the pipe organ. Yeah.
when they realized they weren't getting advertisement
Because
money.
they're getting
dildo
married when she's marrying the
companies.
guy and the priest is up there giving the blessing. It's in the background where it turns into a penis.
I'm glad you know that, Tim.
Did you say a pianist?
A pianist, yes. A
Oh,
pianist.
okay.
I've seen a picture of a pianist before.
Really? So have I. My father was a piano player.
It was drawn inside the men's bathroom stall.
Oh, of that kind.
So anyway, but speaking of Easter eggs, Radio Free Mormon is starting a show in 10 minutes about Easter eggs that he's found where stuff from probably the Book of Mormon points to some other reference book.
Yeah, who knows?
So we'll say goodbye because
We'll say goodbye.
it's dinner time for me. And
Me too.
Well, I guess
thanks for
you too,
thanks
then.
for the 3 people that watched us.
Thank you very much for being here, guys.
Yeah, seriously.
And come to
Yeah.
Tuesdays with Tim. And we're going to do the same thing over tomorrow. So if we want 6 people watching, we'll tell a friend. And we're going to show part 2 where he talks more about the ETs and how Randy makes a surprising move, we'll say, on the show, on the second half of the show tomorrow. It's not.
My antennas come out of my head, but don't tell anybody.
Randy has
This is my channel.
one of those moments where it had dawned on him way earlier, but he finally gets a chance to say it. Wait a minute.
Right.
He just said something about ET. Why are we talking about catering?
It's called a Durr moment. Like Durr, what are we?
Yeah, I would say look for it tomorrow, but according to Tim, it's already happened. So I don't even know when the hell it is, but it's going to be around.
It's going to be in this present time, in this
It's
present.
already happened.
In this presence. It'll be in this presence.
I can't.
It'll be now. It'll happen now, right? It'll be, because all there is now. It's going to happen in this now. Whenever, when this now is then.
Yeah. Tim's going to say, I gave you presents. It was in the past.
That's right.
And remember, in 2 days, tomorrow will be yesterday.
Right.
Wow,
What is RFM's channel? And,
Mormon Discussions,
Tim
Inc.
says it's Mormon Discussions. I could provide a link.
Do you love RFM enough to do that?
You know,
Give him a link.
I saw RFM do a magic trick at Sunstone 3 years ago.
Oh, you lucky bugger.
And he was pretty much like, who the hell are you? And then when I first started podcasting, he gave me his phone number and said, now that I've joined the ranks of podcasting. And then I helped Maven get mad at him, so he hasn't talked to me much lately. So anyway, I will provide a link. We'll say goodbye to everybody. It'll take us a few minutes to say goodbye anyway. And I'll look up Mormon Discussion and provide a link. Randy, tell us a little bit more about what tomorrow's show is about.
Well, it delves a little bit deeper into the, I won't even say supernatural, but the fact that we've been receiving technological help from people who are not of this world,
or this dimension,
or this dimension.
Because the way that Maurice explained it was they're in another dimension coming into this dimension.
So it's almost like Joseph Smith said in a way that messengers belong on this earth and always belong on this earth somehow.
Could have been the 3 Nephites, just saying.
The Radio Free Mormon show starts there.
Yeah, this is the one. Mormon Atheist. This is the...
Somewhere in the show at the bottom there, whatever direction it is, you'll see it, my golden microphone. You can click on that. I don't have it listed yet, but click on that tomorrow morning, and tomorrow's show will show up what time it's going to be. It's going to be sometime in the mid-afternoon. All right, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Talk to you later.
See you tomorrow.
Tuesdays with Tim. We'll ramble, but we'll have twice as many people talking at the same time.
Let's hope so.